It's happening. We're just half an hour away from the fall of what was El Paso City Hall and the start of a new era downtown. KFOX-14 brings you extensive live team coverage on this special edition of the KFOX-14 Morning News. Good morning. I'm John Purvis.
I'm Erica Castillo. First on Fox this morning, City Hall is coming down, and with it, the community ushers in what it hopes will be a new and thriving downtown. In just about half an hour, the explosives will be ignited, the 10-story building will be destroyed, and El Paso will make way for a $50 million baseball stadium. We have team coverage for you this morning. KFOX-14 Morning News reporter Bill Malugian is in Sunset Heights. Genevieve Curtis is at the Union Plaza Garage. And we begin with KFOX-14 Morning News anchor Shelton Dodson, who is located at the staging area just blocks away.
Well, good morning to you, John and Erica. It's hard to believe that 1 year from now we'll be standing in an area that'll be filled with baseball fans as that new stadium will be underway and the new season underway. But first things first, a half hour from now, we're going to be filled in a dust cloud and about 19,000 pounds of debris as City Hall will come down implosion style. Let's zoom in a little bit and show you exactly what's going to be done here. You might see that the first 2 floors of City Hall have been stripped bare, including the exterior windows. Just concrete columns are part of the superstructure, all that remain. They're hidden behind some black fabric right now. That's going to help catch any type of debris that could be shot out once this dynamite is touched off. Again, charges at the basement, the 1st floor, the 4th floor, and the 8th floor. Those are the places you want to be watching whenever this finally goes off. And again, we have a lot of questions answered about what's going to happen to all those windows when the blast goes off. We're going to answer that coming up in about 10 minutes from now. For now, we're live down at the explosion zone. Shelton Dodson, the KFOX-14 Morning News.
Engineers with Controlled Demolition Incorporated tell KFOX-14 they've demolished hundreds of buildings like City Hall and hold world records for some of their past jobs. This is video from the Seattle Seahawks stadium demolition in the year 2000, in which CDI won the world record for the world's largest structure ever to be demolished by explosives. Nearly 20 million cubic meters of material, and this demolition of the Ocean Tower condominiums in Texas gave the company the world record for the tallest reinforced concrete building to ever be demolished with explosives. We talked to the engineers who tell us our demolition will begin at ground level at the northeast corner of the building and move towards the south end. It is expected to fall vertically into its footprint. Another area that has a clear shot of City Hall is the Union Plaza Transit Terminal. That's where KFOX-14 Morning News reporter Genevieve Curtis joins us live.
Well, good morning, John and Erica. I'm at the Union Plaza Garage where people started arriving as early as 6:30 this morning to see the implosion of City Hall. We are just about 200 yards away from where it will be imploded, and the city will build a baseball stadium in its place. And we aren't seeing the crowds that we saw at the Asarco demolition at UTEP yesterday, and that's likely because there are just so many different places across the city that you can see the implosion of City Hall. We, of course, think that the best place to watch is right here on KFOX-14. So I will toss it back to you and John in studio, and we will be here as the morning continues.
All right, and joining us now is El Paso historian Bernie Sargent. Bernie, I wanted to start off, is there a lot of significant history in this current City Hall building?
Not near as much as previous City Halls had. You know, we had our first female mayor here, and probably the first guitar-playing mayor. with John Cook. Yeah, you bet. But as far as significance goes, oh, and first city manager, too.
Okay.
And then we also changed the terms of office to 4-year terms. So there's been a few things, but nothing as significant as some of the previous city halls that we've had. We didn't have a saloon or a post office like we did with the very first mayor and our first city hall that El Paso
Things
had.
were different back then.
Yeah.
Not that it was a bad idea.
Sometimes I'd like to have a saloon close by when I open my mail.
This is it, right?
No, that's actually, that would be the second one.
Okay.
How many city halls has El Paso had through the years?
This is the 4th.
The 4th.
When you look at the first building that was considered City Hall, it was when Ben Dow was mayor, and it was an adobe structure that was part of the land that we bought, or I should say became Franklin, then ultimately became El Paso. And it was just a big adobe structure. And he had moved here from Kentucky. He opened up a post office, billiard parlor, and saloon. And that's where City Hall started, the city of El Paso.
Right, Bernie, we'll check back in a little bit later. Thanks for talking with us.
Of course, one of the other old places in El Paso is Sunset Heights, and a lot of people have gathered there this morning to watch the demolition. KFOX 14 Morning News reporter Bill Malugin is live in Sunset Heights with what's going on there.
Well, John, Erica, good morning. We are posted up in a dirt lot right outside of the Sunset Heights neighborhood where hundreds of people have turned out with their families, waking up early this morning to check out the City Hall demolition scheduled for about 9 a.m. this morning. We talked with the police officer around here, and he told us there's actually a line at the bottom of this hill where if anybody crosses that line at any point during this demolition, it will be put on hold until that person is removed. I was also able to speak with officials from Controlled Demolition Incorporated last week, and they told me that they've imploded hundreds of all-glass facade structures like City Hall before, but they said none have been as, quote, pretty as as El Paso City Hall. They told me they drilled 500 holes into the building, loaded up the first, fourth, and eighth floors with 400 pounds of dynamite, and that's expected to bring down all 38 million pounds of this building. They said it's going to start in the northeast corner of the building and then roll to the south. John, Erica.
Now, the controversy at the heart of City Hall's destruction was why it had to be knocked down in the first place. City engineers say at 33 years old and $12 million in repairs, it's cost-effective for it to come down. KFOX 14 Morning News reporter Genevieve Curtis explains why.
We don't have the option of doing nothing. This building needs work.
In 2010, city engineers told City Council at a minimum the necessary renovations to City Hall will cost $12 million to fix the essentials, like leaky windows.
See how the top of it's pushed in a little bit? During high winds, once in a while we'll have a window actually push in.
Plaster falling off the side of the building.
And that's obviously a major concern. You don't want anything falling off a building this high.
A complete revamp of old, unreliable elevators.
The issues that we're having with the building aren't unique issues. They're the kind of issues you'd have with a 30-year-old building that you haven't ever done any replacement on.
A main entrance that can't be used on windy days.
The wind is just terrible on this entrance. The entrance desperately needs work.
And vacant, useless spaces.
That's part of the problem is you have vacant area in a building, you still got to feed utilities to it. You still got to heat it, cool it, deal with the plumbing.
And an outdated fire alarm system. The fire department recently assessed City Hall's risk at a level 3 out of 4 in severity. But beyond the necessities,
it's not an iconic building. It's not built like you would build a City Hall. It's built like you'd build a hotel.
When talk of destroying City Hall began, it almost immediately divided El Pasoans and city officials. And KFOX 14 was there last June when City Council voted 6-2 to build the $50 million baseball stadium downtown. That vote set off excitement in many, outrage in many others. The first of 3 lawsuits was filed in federal court last October. Former Mayor Ray Salazar, who presided over construction of City Hall, along with a group led by Sal Gomez and Carl Starr, sued the city and city officials to try and stop City Hall's demolition, saying the decision should be left up to voters.
And they did not listen to us, and our simple message was give us the opportunity to vote, to decide on this issue of so great importance. Why can't we decide and go to the polls?
The lawsuits came just a few weeks after 2 failed attempts by El Paso residents to put the issue on last November's ballot. The second petition had enough valid signatures, but came too late to make it on the ballot. In November, El Paso voters did approve an increase in the hotel occupancy tax to help pay for the new downtown ballpark. After months of litigation, including several requests for injunctions, a judge in Austin last month finally ruled the city could move forward with the demolition.
We did not get the injunction that we were looking for. Apparently are not going to stop the implode of City Hall. Yeah, we don't feel good about that.
Again, the implosion of City Hall is slated for about 9 this morning.
KFOX 14 Morning News weathercaster Joshua Zuber has your first look at weather for today's historic event.
Temperatures a little bit warmer and those winds a little bit breezier as we head into the demolition of City Hall. 9 o'clock in the morning when that building is supposed to come down. The winds will be out of the west 10 to 20 miles per hour. Hopefully, though, with all of the buildings around City Hall, the wind should be a little lighter than that. By 10 o'clock after City Hall has come down 66 degrees, we get into that breezy category. Winds out of the west 15 to 25 miles per hour. And they get even stronger by 11 o'clock, 15 to 30 miles per hour with gusts possible of 40 miles an hour by the afternoon.
time, we are a few minutes away, and as I'm taking a look outside, here's I-10 in Missouri. I-10 has already, traffic is being diverted. I am seeing a lot of backups, and as we take a look on the west side of town where traffic is also being diverted off of I-10 and Executive, you can see here it's completely getting off I-10. I have seen big rigs. Everyone is just moving on to North Mesa Street, so you will see a lot of delays on North Mesa Street as you're heading out the door. John?
Here's one of your last live looks at El Paso City Hall this morning.
You are watching In the Blast Zone, a special edition of the KFOX-14 Morning News. Coverage you can count on. So we are just about 12, 13 minutes away from the implosion of City Hall. The time given was about 9 o'clock. There is going to be a horn sounded a couple of minutes before the actual implosion, just to let us know exactly when it's going to happen. Let's go back out live to KFOX-14 Morning News anchor Shelton Dodson, who is inside the exclusion zone.
Well, Erica, I think here's a question that you and I and everyone have been asked so many times recently is what's going to happen to all the windows on City Hall once the blast goes off? Well, it's not going to be as bad as people think. In fact, most of them will just fall and break rather than really be blasted out of the zone. You can see where the side of the building's already been fractured and some of the windows have been taken out. That's really the focus area you want to look at for when these blasts starts going off. It's not one big blast, it's a series of smaller ones that come down. But these windows will basically just break as they fall down, although there has been some black fabrics that's been wrapped around that you can see, and that's actually to catch any of the concrete from any of the columns that could be blasted out as well. Again, about 400 pounds of dynamite is going to be used basically to bust out the columns and let it fall down and fold on top of itself. And I'll tell you what, Erica, we may not be in the best place out here right now because the winds are really starting to pick up, and guess what? They're blowing right in our direction. Once this building goes down and the cloud and the dust cloud comes up, it could get really interesting out here inside the blast zone. Reporting live from outside City Hall, where we're about 12 to 13 minutes away from the implosion. And again, we will give you a full announcement coming up on the warning horn once it sounds. I'm Shelton Dodson, the KFOX-14 Morning News.
The earmarking for City Hall for destruction paved the way for the Insights Museum to go first. It's not very far from where Shelton was standing. Crews tore down the Insights Museum with a backhoe early last month in March. Insights had been housed at the building since it was built in 1992. A new home for the museum has not yet been established, but officials have said they're looking into teaming up with the El Paso Independent School District and possibly move it into the old Alamo Elementary School building.
They called it bittersweet the day city leaders held their final meeting at City Hall. Just 3 weeks ago, city representatives, the mayor, and countless others took part in the final meeting at 2 Civic Center Plaza. Even though most city leaders were in favor of this move, it was still a tough day for everyone.
I spent 9 years of my life here, so I mean, it is kind of sentimental that you're making a change like this, but hopefully people will like the new building. They're going to make some tweaks to the council chambers and to make it more comfortable for everyone who's there, and so I think it's, you know, it's a positive move in that respect.
Until further notice, city council meetings, along with all city public meetings, are being held at the main library on Oregon Street. Meanwhile, instead of having all city employees under one roof, they are now spread through the downtown area. Mayor Cook and his staff are up and running at 300 North Campbell on the other side of downtown, in the building that used to house the El Paso Times. City Council purchased that building, along with the Luther building, also on Campbell, and another one on Texas Avenue.
15 minutes away from the demolition, and I do want to remind you that this is going to have a big impact if you're heading out the door at this time trying to get on those streets. Those little surface streets, you will see a lot of delays on North Mesa Street as well. Paisano Drive is not closed, so that's a good option, and so is the Border Highway. The Border Highway is completely open, but I-10 at this time is closed, and traffic is just being diverted from Executive Center Boulevard and here on the North Mesa Street exit. So you're going to have to find an alternate, possibly stay home, just watch the demolition from your couch. Don't head out the door, and maybe even go to a later mass if you are heading to church. Erica?
That sounds like a good idea. We're closing in on the time of detonation.
Let's take another live look at City Hall. You're watching Inside the Blast Zone, a KFOX 14 morning news special.
Hundreds of people are in Sunset Heights to get a really good view of the demolition. KFOX 14 Morning News reporter Bill Malugin is live in downtown El Paso.
Yeah, well, there's still a steady stream of people showing up to this dirt lot right outside of Sunset Heights to get a good view of this demolition. And we mentioned earlier in the show that the company bringing down City Hall holds the world record for the largest demolition by volume. That was the Kingdome in Seattle. And I want to bring in Ivan Barraza. He was actually in Seattle for that demolition and witnessed it firsthand. So, Ivan, can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you?
Well, my wife and I were in Seattle at the time of the implosion of the Kingdome, and that was quite an event. There's no way I was going to miss this.
You told me you brought some of your family members, some of the kids out here. What are you guys expecting from this demolition? And what do you expect it to be how is it going to be a little different from the Kingdome?
Well, at the time it was just my wife and I, but in this case I brought my nephews, and at the beginning they weren't very happy waking up so early in the morning, but right now they seem to be doing a lot better now. I'm expecting it to be just a great event, and I think it's going to be memorable.
Are you guys worried at all that some of the dust may end up heading this way?
Well, that's why I brought a hat, I guess. I didn't do my hair, so I think we're good.
Okay, and what's your opinion on this demolition weekend? I mean, El Paso is changing forever, such historical landmarks. Do you think this has changed for the better?
You know, I think sometimes you have to take a step backwards before you can go forward. We were witnessing the Circle demolition, and then now we're going to be doing the City Hall. I think it's a shame that it's such an expense going down on rubble, but sometimes you gotta take a step backwards before you can go forward.
Well, thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate it. We're about 10 minutes out from the downtown El Paso skyline changing forever, and we'll be right here waiting to bring that to you. John, Erica.
All right, Bill, thank you. And officials have said that while the City Hall building is expected to fall into its own footprint and the parking lot around itself, a cloud of dust is expected to hover in that area for about 15 minutes after the implosion. And as Shelton told us from the field, it's getting a little windy out there, so we'll see how that plays out. But meantime, business owners in the blast zone are very worried that the demolition will somehow go wrong and affect them in ways outside of the dust. Andrea Gates-Engel owns Creative Kids and has a front row seat to the demolition. She's worried the dust and vibrations may affect her business, but those in charge of the demolition say there really is nothing to worry about.
We have professionals doing this, and we feel very confident in their abilities, and we have gone through our procedures, check procedures, and I don't think anyone could ever say in any situation that nothing could go wrong, but we have certainly done our due diligence.
City officials tell us if something does happen to go wrong, the company in charge of the demolition will be held liable.
Okay, and don't forget your alternate. If you're getting diverted off of I-10, just remember Paisano Drive is completely open, and so is your border highway if you're trying to get around town. There are delays on North Mesa Street as all these big rigs that are getting off I-10 are slowing traffic out there. If you're going out for breakfast, I mean, just skip breakfast, go to brunch, because it's going to be a little messy out there. I-10 is completely closed at this time. Let's go ahead and take a look outside of my text.cam where you can see all this traffic is actually going to be on North Mesa Street or on Paisano or Donovan. So just take a look at this. If you're heading out the door, you will get caught in this traffic. Erica?
Don't want to do that. And as you've seen all morning, our crews are spread out throughout downtown El Paso.
There's also a lot of activity on our Facebook and Twitter pages. We're just minutes away from the implosion of El Paso City Hall. You're watching In the Blast Zone, a KFOX 14 morning news special. It's coverage you can count on. Any moment now, City Hall will implode, beginning a new era in downtown El Paso.
So we have our historian Bernie Sargent back on the set with us because we're anticipating that moment any time now. But until then, we find KFOX 14 Morning News anchor Shelton Dodson out at the staging area.
John and Erica, this is the time that we have been waiting for. A couple things we want to go through now. First of all, what people are going to hear as far as a warning system. We should hear a horn sound off here just about the top of the hour. Once that horn goes off, that is a 3-minute warning till the detonation goes off. We're also told we're given another warning at 1 minute, and then also at 15 seconds, and a countdown will follow from there. Whether we can actually get the audio from that countdown, if we're close enough, we don't know. But what people really need to be watching out for on these the explosion, it's not one big blast, it's a series of blasts. And as you can see in City Hall behind me, they've actually removed some of the windows. Okay. Right now, that is the siren. And John and Erica, if you'll keep an eye on the clock for me, feel free to interrupt me at any time. That should be our 3-minute warning. Again, we should hear another one at 1 minute coming in. Once this starts to go down, what people need to watch for is a series of explosions that could go from the 8th floor to the 4th down to the bottom. There will be multiple explosions as this building will just fall down upon itself. Actually, on the scale of demolitions 1 to 10, the demo company says this is about a 2. It's not going to be too hard to do. Those windows are not going to blast all the way out at us. In fact, they'll more break than they will blast out. But the big worry, at least from the people, the media corps down here, is the winds are really starting to come our way. They're blowing either right at us or down into the downtown area, so this dust cloud could be a bit of a problem to work with. We just heard another siren going off there. That should be a 2-minute warning. And John and Erica, while we have a second, if you guys have any questions, I think I'll be able to hear you.
All right, Shelton, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay, I know you have some familiarity with the construction business. Talk a little bit about where they place the explosives in a structure like this to make sure everything comes down where it's supposed to.
John, that's a very good question. When people walk into these large buildings and they see all these partition walls, those are not structural whatsoever. What that is there's actually a bunch of concrete columns that are like 2 foot by 2 foot or all the way to 4 foot by 4 foot. They're reinforced with rebar, and then there's red iron on top of it, the structural steel. That's what holds all of this up. So what you will see in this series of explosions is they've actually drilled holes into these concrete columns. Tell me again, Oscar, what was that? Okay, we're on the countdown, guys.
Okay.
Wow, there comes that dust cloud right in Shelton's direction.
Yeah, Shelton, maybe head for some kind of cover there, because it does look like. How windy is it out there, Shelton?
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, a little bit hard to hear you. I do have my mask right on my head ready to pull down, so I'll try to speak up. Audio may be a little difficult. For the most part, this dust cloud is blowing into downtown El Paso. It's also coming right at us as well, but so far it has not reached the media corps. But as you can see, it's starting to get dark on our live shot. It's just about 5-6 feet away from me. I'm going to bring down
Shelton,
the dust mask now.
Why don't you put on your mask? Go ahead and put on the mask. If we can't hear you, that's okay. Your safety comes first. That was quite a sight, watching the building come down. Bill Melugin's out there, out in the Sunset Heights area. Bill, what was the reaction when the City Hall came tumbling down?
Well, everybody already had their phones pulled out, some even with their iPads, taking video, waiting for the demolition. And I can tell you that it was actually pretty awesome to watch, to be quite frank. What we saw was the explosion started in the northeast corner of the building, and then it slowly went to the south. CDI officials told me they were planning to do it like that. That way the explosions would roll away from Durango Street and away from the railroads. They told me that this wasn't going to be a typical pancake implosion, but we'll get back to you in a little bit. John, Erica?
Let's go back to Shelton Dodson, who's now in a very dark place near where City Hall just came down. Shelton, what's going on out there?
Well, the dust cloud is starting to disseminate just a little bit, but it's still pretty bad. from where I'm standing, I would not be able to see where City Hall used to be standing. It's still that thick. The cloud has moved all the way into downtown El Paso. I cannot see the Camino Real Hotel from where I'm at, but the sun is starting to come out a little bit. So those breezes are actually really going to help us out because the dust cloud is going out right away. I'm not sure which camera angle you're using now, but I'm actually going to wipe down the lens on our camera just a little bit. And I'm hoping not to block anything there.
That made a huge difference.
Well,
wow,
it's amazing, too, just for, in the matter, we went to another shot there, Shelton, and in the matter of those seconds, the shot did become so much clearer. So it's true, it's moving it through very quickly. The winds, I guess, are a blessing this morning.
Well, I actually feel comfortable enough to take off my dusk mask already, if that tells you anything. And so those breezes were actually more helpful than hindrance, believe it or not. I say that because I'm not standing in a dust cloud. The people that are down in Juarez and in the Segundo Barrio are probably dealing with it pretty bad right now. But the good thing is it's going to get out of here fairly quickly. There's pieces of insulation, wall insulation, that were blown all the way here, at least by the wind or from the explosion. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to turn around and get my very first look at what's left of City Hall. Remember, that's a 288-foot tall building. My best guess is that's down to 40 to 50 feet in some areas. 19,000 tons worth of material brought down in just a matter of seconds. It's going to take about 1,000 truckloads to haul that away when they finally get going, guys.
Wow, Shelton, I know that they had said that if there were any disruptions in the exclusion zone at all, that this would be delayed. Everything seems like it went as planned and as scheduled. When you were debriefed prior to the implosion, did they say if there were any snags at all, or was this just a perfect procedure?
It looked like it was just really wonderful, Erica. Again, this demolition crew, as you guys have reported, have done some big NFL stadiums before. This was just like a scale of a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as demolition. And I'll tell you what, probably the best sign that you could give that people think they went well, that this demolition went well, is I see all the crews behind me giving each other high fives. So they're pretty proud of their work. And you can start to see City Hall a little bit. I'm sure we'll have other angles of that as well. And again, we may want to wipe things down a little bit before you come back out to us. But for inside the blast zone, it was quite an experience, and everything went very well, guys.
All right, thank you, Shelton. And let's take another look at the demolition of City Hall as it happened. The implosion, look, picture perfect. Wow. I must say, at this point, I was a little nervous the seconds before. Is it going to come down? But it did.
Well, and the planners and engineers had said it would take 9 seconds, and at that moment I wondered, 9 seconds from what? It sure did go down fast.
Joining us now is El Paso historian Bill Sargent. Bernie, excuse me. Bernie, this really has been an historic weekend for El Paso. I mean, with the implosion of City Hall today and the demolition of both Sarco smokestacks yesterday, has there ever been a weekend like this in El Paso?
I don't think anywhere in the country has seen a weekend quite like this. You know, it's been phenomenal. And I think most El Pasoans, have more of a sentimental attachment to the stacks than they do to City Hall.
Hang on, Bernie. I'm not trying to touch you here, but I've got to turn your mic on.
Yeah, we accidentally turned off his microphone, so we're going to turn it on here. It's a little pack next to him, so hopefully it should be on.
We can try that now?
All right, so let's start again, because you were saying that there's really been no place in the country. I'm just going to set that there. It's live TV, folks. And it's Sunday morning, so give us a break.
That's right.
But,
we'll go to church after.
And thank God it all went well. But it's never been done anywhere in the country that you know of. I don't think two demolitions of this capacity.
I don't think there's been 2 consecutive days anywhere in the country where they've had this significant change of a skyline like we have witnessed here. And as I was mentioning before I had my mic turned on, when you look at the sentimental value attached to a Sarco, much more significance than this City Hall. I don't think we'll miss the City Hall as much. I really don't. We'll look forward to see what happens with the city government now as it moves into 3 different locations and try to enable the citizenry to find where they have to go for business.
All right.
That will be the challenge.
Thanks, Bernie. Let's check back in with Zach Garcia for another look at your morning traffic.
It's 9:07, excuse me. I was back here getting all excited seeing that. It was pretty intense. As you can see, traffic is still being diverted off of I-10. Skyline has changed on this TxDOT cam, I-10 in Brown, but as you can see, there is still traffic, and you're still going to run into that traffic on North Mesa Street, and on the other end, possibly on Paisano, off of Executive Center Boulevard, since traffic is still being diverted over there. But here's I-10. Let's take a look at downtown. The Skyline has changed. Traffic is still backed up, and you will still have those delays on North Mesa Street. John?
After months of controversy, El Paso City Hall is officially gone, paving the way for construction of a AAA ballpark.
Here's another look at the impressive-looking implosion. History being made in El Paso today. You're watching In the Blast Zone. We will be right back. City Hall, as El Paso knows it, is gone from the landscape. KFOX 14 Morning News anchor Shelton Dodson is very near to where it once was. Shelton, it looks so spooky out there when that cloud came toward you.
It was exhilarating, and I don't want to dare draw a comparison to what happened on 9/11 because this in no way compares, but we saw the video of the dust clouds just running down through the city streets of New York, and it kind of felt that way a little bit. But my kingdom for some saline solution and a dust buster right now because it is flat out nasty down here. Let's take a look at what's left of City Hall. Remember, this was 288 feet tall and 19 tons, or 19,000 tons, I should say, and it took about 8 seconds to bring that thing down, and we told you that it was just going to fold down upon itself, and it really did. It was very well done. We saw the demolition experts giving each other high fives out here, so they're very happy with what's gone on. And as far as the dust situation downtown, it really looks like it's cleared up pretty quickly, so anybody that has breathing problems down in that area, they should be able to open up their houses, I would say, safely in about 45 minutes or so, but it looks pretty good. We'll bring you more updates as events warrant. John and Erica?
And Shelton is wearing those sunglasses this morning to protect his eyes because of all that dust. For months now, we monitored the controversy over demolishing City Hall. Now it's time to look ahead at what will replace it. El Paso's new AAA baseball stadium. KFOX 14 Morning News reporter Joshua Zuber shows us the stadium design.
El Paso will be playing ball by next spring.
We want wide, comfortable seats. We want shade. We want good amenities, things for kids to do.
City leaders and the public hear from those who are designing El Paso's new minor league baseball stadium. Those in charge of the project say it's going to be a major league experience and that they have the budget to do it. However, not every item on the wish list could make it.
We know we can build a ballpark for $50 million. What we don't know yet is can we build all the amenities that we'd like for $50 million.
Among them, a waterfall that ties in the geography of the borderland.
So it's kind of taking a twist of the Rio Grande River and applying it to a seating section.
An architect for the company designing the ballpark, which is expected to hold some 10,000 people, Populous, says El Paso's history and art will be evident. They say the brick and exposed steel will be similar to the Union Depot next door. When it comes to the view, transparency is key.
Here, we're really focusing everybody in the downtown and the mountains, so you really get a sense of connection.
But don't count on additional parking with the new stadium.
What we found is that we have ample parking within a 5-minute walk.
And just like any other city that holds a big event, traffic likely won't be pleasant.
We hope we create congestion.
The final design for the 4-story stadium is expected in May. Joshua Zuber, the KFOX 14 Morning News.
Local business owners tell KFOX 14 they're ready to set up shop in downtown El Paso because of the AAA baseball stadium that will soon go up there. Sparrow's Spirits and Pies on the east side is one of the early birds setting up shop downtown.
You see all the good things that are coming into downtown. I'm like, why not? You know, it's a good idea.
Owner Richard Valenzuela says his pizzeria will create about 30 to 40 new jobs with the new location.
And traffic is still being diverted off of I-10. Here's a look at all this traffic that's going to be going on the surface street. It's going to be quite a headache. Here's I-10 in Brown, where it's still not open. Now inspectors will get out there, make sure everything is clear for I-10 just before traffic is being allowed to go back on I-10. They're going to check all the overpasses around downtown El Paso, make sure nothing is going to fall on you as you head out to I-10. Here's a look at I-10 in Prospect, where you can see they're checking it out just to make sure that the all clear is soon to be. Hopefully around maybe before 10 to 10:30, that's when they're expected to reopen I-10.
Looking good. Now that City Hall is gone, there's a whole lot of baseball we have to look forward to. What El Pasoans can expect from a day at the ballpark and how much it will set you back.
And let's take another look at the implosion of El Paso City Hall. KFOX 14 takes you in the blast zone, and we'll be right back with more coverage you can count on. Sunset Heights was one of the best spots to catch this morning's implosion of City Hall, and that's where KFOX 14 morning news reporter Bill Malugin joins us live again. Bill.
Well, all that's left of the former City Hall building is a steaming pile of rubble and twisted metal. I want to bring in Charles Broomfield. He drove all the way out here from Horizon City. He's a photographer. And Charles, you were telling me that once the charges went off, the building fell so quickly, you weren't even able to snap any pictures, right?
No, I wasn't. And I was really hoping that I would get it going down. I had my paparazzi flash going, but no hope. But I did get it on video, so that was great.
Okay, and you told me you did show up at the Asarco demolition yesterday. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about the differences between these two blasts?
Well, the Asarco gave you a warning. At least they had some flashes before it started, so I was able to capture that very well on video.
What about the differences in the dust clouds? Both of them were pretty big, but this one seemed to really just move downtown.
Yeah, dust clouds, same direction. They went the same direction. The dust cloud wind was blowing the same way.
What's it like for you now looking at downtown El Paso and just seeing it completely changed forever? The City Hall building just isn't there anymore. What's that like for you?
Oh, well, it's looking forward to seeing what's going to be there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be missed, but we're just looking forward to seeing what's going to be there.
All right, well, Charles, I really appreciate you joining us. Have a good one.
Thank you.
John, Erica.
All right, thanks, Bill. It's amazing that months and months and months of chatter and controversy all culminated in about 10 seconds. But part of the chatter has been about the Tucson Padres coming to the borderland. But the big El Paso story apparently isn't much of a story in Arizona. KFOX 14 went to Tucson last summer to watch a game and meet all the fans. And while many people told us that they don't want to see the Padres go, the team's general manager said the move isn't really a big deal.
What's the story been like here? It really hasn't been much of a story, to be honest with you. I mean, it's one way or another. I mean, I don't know. You know, we just announced that we're returning on July.
A big problem for the Tucson Padres in Tucson was attendance, as he just mentioned, and officials say the stadium is on the wrong side of town there and difficult for fans to get to. Hopefully that won't be a problem here. A name for the team, a mascot, team colors, much of this will be decided in the months to come. But KFOX 14 Morning News reporter Joshua Zuber does find out how much it's going to cost for your family to see a game.
A baseball game can be an expensive way to entertain the family during the summer, like Joan Layton and her family.
Enjoy the game.
The tickets aren't that bad. For an El Paso Diablos game, you're looking at $7 for general admission. But how about if the Diablos are no more and the El Paso Padres take over? Tickets for the Keno Stadium in Tucson will run you also $7. Compare that if you were to go to a San Diego Padres game. Tickets run just over $15. How about getting your kid a hot dog or a bratwurst? At Cohen Stadium, that hot dog, $2.75. For a Tucson Padres game, $3.25. A Major League San Diego's Padres game, you'll have to shell out $4. $11. And what's a baseball game for adults without a beer? The Diablos concessions will run $5.25 for a 16-ounce draft. The same size in Tucson, $4.75. At Petco Park in San Diego, it's $5 for a 14-ounce beer. Of course, it's up to the team and concession company to set those prices. The best value seems to be in the specific item you buy. Joshua Zuber, the KFOX 14 Morning News.
Okay, the time now is 9:22, and there is a lot of delays, especially if you're being diverted off of I-10, especially in both directions. As you can see, Paisano Drive is a great option. It's not looking too bad at this time, and neither is the border highway. We're taking a look, and you can see all that red there. That's everyone's just basically stopped on I-10. If we go ahead and take a look outside on my I-10 brown, this is around downtown El Paso. You can see all those big rigs, all those semis are just stopped on I-10. You are going to be there for a while, guys, so just be patient. If you're heading eastbound on I-10 away from downtown, it's a great commute. You will be allowed on, but you will be diverted off of I-10 if you're heading westbound direction. And if you're heading in the eastbound direction from Las Cruces or way up Upper Valley, you're going to be diverted off at Executive Center Boulevard. So just give yourself some time or just stay home. If you don't have to be out there, just don't. John?
Here's what's ahead on this special edition of the KFOX 14 Morning News.
33 years of City Hall gone in 10 seconds and 400 pounds of dynamite. I'm Shelton Dotson. We're live inside of the blast zone next on the KFOX 14 Morning News. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Shelton Dotson inside of the blast zone where just about 30 minutes ago, City Hall came down in about 10 seconds. A perfect implosion. It folded right down upon itself like we were told it would, and it's exactly what happened. Right now, city crews already out here with their dust blowers of all things, trying to clean up the city streets and get downtown back operable just as quickly as possible. I'll tell you what, John and Erica, this is a weekend that none of us and no one in the borderland will soon forget.
Thank you, Shelton. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Erica Castillo.
And I'm John Purvis. Our coverage of this morning's demolition doesn't end here. You can go to KFOX-TV.com and check out videos and galleries from our crews and our media partner, the El Paso Times.
And be sure to also tune in tonight for more extensive live team coverage on KFOX 14 News at 9.